the state of Black America. The state of Black America is in disarray. Our nation seems to be in disarray. But the key to the survival of black folks in America historically, as heinous and treacherous as our treatment and our situation, we survived. How did we survive? By being wise enough, our ancestors being wise enough to disassociate themselves from the system that oppressed them. To disassociate yourself but still utilize and use the system for your benefit, but never to be confused into believing the system was about you. You simply found a way to use the system. You can look at the institutions, sports institutions, entertainment institutions, that were tailored to ostracize black people, but still utilized those industries and progressed. Black folks progressed their way to acceptance by utilizing the system. You can't utilize a system if you don't know how it functions. If you don't know a system is tailored to function against you, you'll never be well. And see, that's the purpose of critical race theory. Critical race theory isn't for white people. Critical race theory is for black people as it relates to black people. Of course, the idea of CRT has been expanded to other groups, other racial groups as well, other social groups that have maybe redefined themselves. But particularly for this program, black people, critical race theory identifies the mechanisms in place that have in effect brainwashed black people into believing that they are something that they are not, and usually in a negative way, so as to maintain the subclass status, okay? And so, like, for example, having white teachers from kindergarten all the way up through college, that is speaking to an individual's subconscious, okay? Having management in organizations that are all white and workers that are primarily black, that is speaking to the subconscious of where you're supposed to be. Looking in our neighborhoods, where we are self-destructive, whether it be drugs, whether it be gang banging, just not maintaining employment, men growing up, leaving their mama's house simply to be living in a woman's house who's on assistance, government assistance. These are all subconscious suggestions that people begin living out. Black people begin living out. White people too, but for this conversation, black people. We need to recognize that we are not what we have primarily been defined to be, okay? And we have primarily been defined to be by the system. I don't believe, and there are many that might disagree with me, and I understand that, but I don't believe the people that were responsible for these institutions, for these subconscious influences, I don't believe they were that smart to have come up with this for the intent, of oppressing and suppressing black people. I believe this was simply the natural tendency to exclude black people from positions of influence and power, and its unintended consequences was a subconscious identification of these black people of the place that we were in society, okay? And that still goes on today, critical race theory, and so many other ways and as well. And so I look at, in this nation, one of the culprits, I believe, is politics. I believe it's religion as well. and it's our status in the social order as well. And so that's what we're going to discuss today. Because emancipation having been 1865, that's a pretty long time to still be in a position where black folks are being choked out and wrongfully imprisoned and wrongfully sentenced to prison systems, okay? And so what I'm going to suggest is I don't blame white people. And I think as long as we have this blame game and we're blaming somebody other than ourselves, we're never going to be well, okay? But we have to recognize what we've been sucked into, okay? We have one purpose in this nation, and that is for total equality. Total equality, black people to white people, okay? Every race, ideally, but for this particular program, black people. And so as we are moving toward that goal, that's the prize. You know the old saying, keep your eyes on the prize? Well, there's a purpose behind that saying. Because it's so easy to get your eyes off of the prize. And once your eyes are off of the prize, you're not in pursuit of the prize. You're no longer going forward, okay? But we are so easily moved, our focus from the prize to something else. Now, in this land where we're still looking for total equality, and in a situation like the abortion issue comes up, or the gun issue comes up, or even the politics and a president and voting and all this stuff pops up, we're taking our eyes off the prize and we're believing we're really part of this institution here in an equal sense to where we are free, okay? And so what I'm suggesting is anytime a situation comes up that takes our focus off of our total equality, we've taken our eyes off of the prize and we're no longer moving forward, okay? And so, for example, we look at the abortion issue. First of all, we need to recognize, as black people in this nation, we are not political. You know, we might act like we're political. We might put that political hat on, whether it be Republican or Democrat or whatever. But until there is total equality, we're not really part of that system. Now we will be used for our votes, and we will be courted for our votes. You know, that's my black over there. You know what I'm saying? But the reality is that if you're not totally equal, then you really don't have a place in politics other than simply being used by this particular party or that particular party for your vote. Okay, so your vote counts. You don't. Okay. And so we need to recognize that we're not political in this nation as black people. But we can, as our ancestors of old recognized, they weren't really a viable part of society, but they found wise ways to use the society, to manipulate the society for their own good, for their own survival. I think it's easier to embrace this concept when you are actually struggling to survive, rather than having the comforts and, you know, seeming comforts but not total equality. It is easier to be cajoled into taking your eyes off the prize and affixing yourselves to other projects that are philosophical luxuries to white people. And so we affix ourselves to those projects. And we lose sight of the prize that was before our eyes, okay? And so we can look at the abortion issue, for example. And so you have now black women fighting for the right to kill their fetus, okay? And so you have black women who do not have total equality, who do not have equal rights to white women. And so this issue of abortion is more of a luxury of philosophy and a desire to have a right, where this black woman has simply joined herself to this agenda of white women and is struggling for the right to kill their fetus too. At the same time, they do not have all the same rights. As you cannot fight for a particular right while you are unequal, linked arm in arms with people who are better than you in the eyes of society. Okay? I mean, we saw this as black people when women were seeking the right to vote. And so, of course, they had support from the black community, support from black women as well. But when the dust settled and the smoke cleared, white women had the right to vote. And all black people were still left blowing in the wind, okay? We need to be aware of that. We have one prize before us, and that is equality. Now, I'm not saying we can't make money. I'm not saying we can't be prosperous. I'm not saying we can't be multimillionaires. But we have to remain understanding of the situation that is presenting itself before us. Okay. We look at politics the same. As far as like the January 6th insurrection, for example. Now we know good and well if black people had been charging the Capitol like that, en masse, there would have been a whole lot of dead people on the Capitol steps, okay? It wouldn't have gotten like that. It wouldn't have been like that. So as we're looking at the hearings, and it's really fun watching the January 6th hearings, you know, it's sort of like better than Netflix. And the special, we got one more special coming, you know, and then the season's going to come back, season 2 in July and all, okay? But even given that, we have to maintain that we are not political. Now we can watch it, and we can be entertained, and we can enjoy it and all. And we can take notes, but recognize you're not part of that process. And you know what, to be honest with you, if the situation had been, well, say the insurrectionists that charged the Black Caucus, you know, and take a bunch of black congressmen and congresswomen captive and finally release them and all, it wouldn't be getting this much hoopla. See what happened, those insurrections, they challenged white folks. Okay, now they were white, predominantly white, but they challenged the institution of white people. So it's not like a black man being killed and then a cop saying he was stressed, or you know, or a white guy citizen killing a black youth and saying that he felt like his life was threatened. No, these white folks threaten white people, and they're not having it. And that's what you see. That's what we see in the January 6 hearings. And you can even see this as well when you look at the witnesses. 99.999% are not black. Why? Because the people that they're trying to impress, the people that they're trying to convince, will not be convinced if they see a black face testifying. And you know, the kicker was, I guess, Cassidy Hutchinson, the 25-year-old white girl that was executive assistant to Mark Meadows and to the president and to Scalise and all these cats. She got up there, you know, and testified. And it was really touching. Even Fox News was saying, you know, they were buying her story because she was like a white girl, you know, and she looked like somebody they could identify with. And they bought it hook, line, and sinker, and she was probably telling the truth. But if a black man or a black woman had sit up there with natural hair, you know, and just, you know, looking like us, her credibility would have been challenged. And they wouldn't have believed it. They wouldn't have bought it. And so we as black people simply need to recognize and not hate about it, but this is the society, the system in which we live. So we have to find a way to use that, to manipulate that for our benefit. And the number one most important aspect is recognizing that you are not part of this system, that you are trying to use the system to better yourself. Until there is total equality, we're not part of the system. We're not a viable part of the system. And that part of us that is viable, that part of us that is important, like our vote, like our money, we need to recognize this, man. And so that's for me, one of the frustrations of our people, you know, in this nation, is that the only reason that we are still continuing to be in the position we're in is not because of white people, it's because of us. It's because we're too easily cajoled by an appearance of convenience, by tidbits that are thrown at us. Like Juneteenth, the federal holiday. Juneteenth was a tidbit. The president just threw it at black people, and we just ate it right up. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. No, come on, man. Really? How many people hadn't even heard of Juneteenth up until recent years. Most of our raising, we hadn't heard of Juneteenth. Thank you, sir. A tidbit for your allegiance. Recognize that, okay? And so we don't want tidbits, we just want total equality. And that's it. Okay, so let's step back. Let's step back quickly back to that abortion issue. I think we need to hone in on that a minute, because I think that is very important to the black community. I think we need to recognize that this idea about black people killing their future, killing their babies. I mean, come on, our ancestors actually sacrificed, and some even sacrificed their lives so that their children would live. But now black people are fighting. Black people are fighting for the right to kill their babies. And what is even more amazing to me are the number of black ministers that are out proclaiming that women should have the right to kill, that black women should have the right to kill their black babies. And I'm not going into the whole scientific thing about the fetus and the heartbeat really isn't a heartbeat at 6 weeks, just a cardiac response or blah, blah, blah. Fine. I'm just suggesting that each of us who are existing today, who are living today, who are breathing today, you, me, your kids, your mother, your father, your aunties, your uncles, we were all a fetus at one time, and this is what we are today. So however you want to scientifically, sleight of hand, like that 3-card Molly game, however you want to scientifically put it out there to justify it, the reality is what would be a human being, this life, what would be a human being, to kill it is to eliminate that which we are, because we were that, okay? So I'm just saying, and I'm not even saying that this is not political and it's not religious. There's a reality that in the 70s they came out with the numbers. Then in the 21st century, this century, 2020, the 21st century, 2022, the 20s, that white people were no longer going to be a majority in this nation. Okay? That was a problem. And so the attack was like a two-pronged attack. A flank attack is what they call in the military. You're going to attack from the front and attack from behind. So the front attack was immigration, limit immigration of black people into this nation. Okay? And promote the immigration of white people in this nation. We're always complaining about it. We're always complaining about how unfair the immigration policy is to black people, and we're watching them just funnel white folks right into this nation from other nations. Well, this is because we're trying to limit the effect which was to be in the 21st century of white people not becoming a minority. So what do? You limit the amount of black immigrants and you increase the amount of white immigrants. Right? Of course. It's math. So what's that flank? What's the other side of this thing? Promote abortion of black babies. But what better way to decrease the population than to promote the abortion of black babies, black fetuses, the potential to be born of black people? Come on now. So you're limiting the black people that are coming into this nation, and you're also drastically eliminating the black people that will be born into this nation. Okay. Now the problem with the abortion issue in this nation is that white women fell in love with this concept of convenient abortions. And they began having abortions themselves. So in effect, it threw a monkey wrench in the plan. It's almost like trying to bail, keeping water from coming in, plugging up this hole, but it's coming in another hole. The white people are trying, the powers that be were trying to ensure that their minority status would be pushed out for a while till they came up with another game plan. So we're going to stop letting black immigrants in, and we're going to be letting more white immigrants in, and black women are going to be aborting their fetuses, so we're going to be preventing black people from being born in this nation. White women loved it. Supreme Court, okay, we got to back up 50 years. Now, a lot of folks are out there up in arms, and we as black people, we just buy in to just about anything to satisfy someone else's agenda and believe it's our own, okay? So black folks now who were slaves in this nation, whose ancestors, half of them died on the Middle Passage coming over to this place, were enslaved, murdered, tortured, in bondage for hundreds of years, finally freed, and then murdered, executed, mistreated, imprisoned wrongfully, Jim Crowed, fought for civil rights, and even still today being murdered by the police and other citizens claiming they were afraid for their lives. And we're fighting for the right to kill our black babies before they're born. Come on now. We're so confused. We should just be having our babies, raising them to become strong, moral voters. Okay? For real. It's very important. So we need to not buy into this popular agenda of folks in this nation who are not going through what we're going through. And, one of the talking points is that, religion, keep your religion out of our politics. This whole thing that the Constitution, I'm not political. I'm probably left-leaning, but then I have an AR, and I don't believe in abortion. I believe in being frugal with money. That might, but then on the other hand, I can't see linking my arms with race, with racism. Okay, so I'm just on the outside, man. We are just black folks that are not really attached to the political party, but we can, manipulate the parties, to make sure we get what we want. But so now they're saying that, this religion can't have a say in our politics, and looking at the Supreme Court and this abortion issue, but it's not about religion. It's simply about interpreting the intent of the Constitution, and these guys determined that abortion rights are not covered or intended in the Constitution, and so it's not a constitutional right, abortion. That's what they determined. Now that is the purpose of the Supreme Court, and so their motive, we want to say it's political, and it probably is. Of course, it's political, but their interpretation of the Constitution simply determined that abortion rights are not a constitutional right. Okay, so they pushed it over to the to states to make those determinations. But those talking points are so easy. And then again, I'm seeing some posts coming up. Clarence Thomas. If they repealed this, you would even have your. Here they get back to. See, these are the privileged folks who have the luxury of philosophizing, about their rights that are being trampled on. And for fodder, for backup, they're going to be dragging up black folks and throwing them out. Sort of like, the terrorism, how they'll line innocent people up in front of the windows. That's who you are. That's who black people are in this nation. For the politicians, they will utilize whatever they will utilize you, so that their survival will be more comfortable, so their lives will be more comfortable. It's amazing how they are attacking Clarence Thomas, and you got other justices that voted for the. Where that black man at? I'm saying we need to see this. Okay. Now guns. Let's talk about guns for a moment. Now again, we're not political in this nation. We might think we are, but we're just being suggested that we are political simply for our allegiance, for our votes. Okay. Now you can manipulate the system to aid you, but we always have to remain cognizant that we are not really of the system. We are just functioning here, and we're trying to make sure we're the better for it. Okay. So the gun issue, for example. I am also amazed at the number of black people that are that are championing the cause of gun control, okay? I don't care what you call yourself, a Republican, a Democrat, or like me, none of the above, which is, I believe, what we really are, is that as that if we've learned nothing else in this nation, that is imperative we keep ourselves in a place where we can protect ourselves, because if the truth be told, folks really don't like black people, not just in this nation, but all over the world. Now, I have a spiritual theory about that I've covered in my spiritual program, but we won't go there right now. This is simply the fact. We know this, okay? So I'm just saying, if you're in a nation such as ours, when we're not really equal, a whole bunch of people are walking around with guns that don't like you, okay, I'm like, why am I championing for gun control? Because if they ever shut that spigot off, guess who's not going to have a gun? Me. See, they're not going to be confiscating the guns from folks. Now, I know they're going to be offering buyback programs, so people that need money or people that are broke are going to be selling their guns. I'm just saying that all things being equal, all things being just as they are, if the gun spigot is ever shut off, they're not going to confiscate guns from those people that have them. You're just not going to be able to get one. So why are black people championing this cause for gun control? You can't say, well, because it's in our communities, the young people, gangbangers or whatever, killing themselves because they didn't get their guns legally anyway. So that's not going to be fixed. So the only black people in this nation, other than criminals who get their guns illegally anyway, the only other black people who will be affected by the gun spigot being turned off are just the regular black folks that need to be protecting themselves. Okay. So I have guns. I have an AR. I have a shotgun. I have a Glock. I've never shot the AR. I never shot the shotgun, and I only shot my Glock when I was qualifying for my CCW. Okay, but I have them just in case, because it's my responsibility to protect me, to protect my family. Okay, and there's a lot of crazy people out there that don't like black people. You got to know that, and Democrats and Republicans, for real. And so I'm just saying, we need to make sure and maintain the reality of our status in this nation. That we always need to be protecting ourselves, because there are people out there that hate you, for real. And so, yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it. So this is not political. It's just common sense that you always need to be able to protect yourself. That's why we were victimized so. See, a lot of folks want to believe, that even the Africans coming here, uncivilized, weak, and all this. That's why Europe was there. Look, the Europeans did have the weaponry. But what allowed the Europeans to conquer the Africans and even the Native Americans and other indigenous people over this planet was that the other people were more civilized than the Europeans. Okay, I mean, you can go into any high school. The bully usually isn't that bright. The bully usually doesn't have manners. The bully is uncivilized. And so the bully does things to civilized folks that civilized folks wouldn't do in kind, okay? So that's what you have. You don't have, I mean, if you look at, say, Africa, for example, you look at the pyramids, you look at the societies, the geometries, the medicines, the math and the agriculture, all the stuff that emanated out of Africa. You recognize those were not uncivilized people, okay? The Chinese, who were manhandled, and really brought to their knees by the Europeans, they were more civilized than the Europeans, and the Europeans had the armament, and they were able to subject the Chinese to their will. Okay, not because they were more civilized, recognize this, not because they were more intellectual, not because they had it going on up here like that, they just had the weaponry. Realize that, okay? And so, as we're talking, about this whole black thing, and it's probably going to be winding up in a little bit, we need to be cognizant of the fact that 150 or so years ago, black people were slaves in this nation, okay? And so even as unequal as things are, and I believe a lot of it is our own fault, because we're trusting folks who don't like us to do the right thing. When does that ever happen? Okay? But the point is, we need to realize just how strong and how talented we are. That back in the day when there were slaves, most white people did not have slaves. because slaves cost money. Most white people were poor. Okay, many white people worked side by side with the slaves in the fields. Now they weren't slaves, but they had a life of, they were just white inwards, okay? They just weren't slaves. So now you have today, this many years later, the children of those that were slaves, the descendants of those that were slaves, compared to the descendants of those who were not slaves, we're all pretty much on the same level. So that speaks a lot to our ingenuity, to our insight, to our ability to live in and even manipulate a system that is not doing justice for us, but we can still survive, we can still be prosperous. That is a gift that we have. And it's evident that we're still here and we're still surviving. So we need to utilize that. Unfortunately, when we take our eyes off of the prize, we get complacent, okay? And we stop trying. We stop running so hard, okay? It's like you're running a four-leg relay race, and it's going, you're in front, you're getting there, or you're catching up. But before you've caught up, that last leg starts slowing down, and man, it's real comfortable out here. Nice little breeze going on. Look, I'm running with everybody. Yeah, but you ain't there yet, okay? We can't do that. So I'm just saying we need to realize the strength that we have. So whether it's in entertainment, we're strong. Whether it's in sports, we're strong. Whether it's in business, we've seen it, we're strong. Military leadership, Colin Powell, a lot of those guys, we've seen it. President of the United States, Barack Obama. Who have you seen in your lifetime as president that measured up to Barack Obama? None. That's why, one of the reasons they hate black folks so much, man. That's when he became president, man, he dwarfed intellectually the individuals he ran against in the Democratic primary, and he dwarfed intellectually those that were challenging him for the presidency. 2 terms. Nobody stood a chance because he was that. So we have that ability, we have that potential, but too often we drop it. We accept the society's description of us. The society sees us as pawns on a chessboard. That we're just utilized for the well-being of the other pieces, okay? That's why there's so many of them. They're expendable, okay? But a pawn must realize, and most folks don't realize the strength that you have as a pawn, that if you're playing the game of chess, if that pawn gets all the way to the other side of the board, you can transform that pawn into any piece, any chess piece you would. You can conceivably have 3 queens, which are pretty powerful pieces on the board, and you will definitely win. You will not lose. The problem is that we are so subdued in our minds, we don't realize the power and the strength that we have, and we fail. We fail to embrace what is ours. Why? Because we've taken our eyes off that prize, remember? The eyes off the prize is before us and is easily attainable. Those before us sacrifice for us to get so far, and we've just laid that baton down on the track. I'm going to suggest to you, as we're closing up here, the way out of this mess that we're in, it's going to take a commitment. It's going to take a sacrifice. See, in this day and age, it's become so easy for people simply, rather than do what needs to be done to make something happen, we can just get on the keyboard, get on the internet, and complain. Talk about how unfair things are. But you're not doing anything. And what I'm suggesting is, if you want to get our situation, I mean, I can tell you in 1 year, black people can be totally equal in this nation. 1 year. What's the remedy? The remedy is to stop doing drugs of any kind, to stop drinking alcohol of any kind, to stop breaking any kind of laws, to get healthy, and to get educated, and to get armed. That's it. Man, you stop doing drugs, and you stop doing alcohol, you financially break the institutions that are profiting off of your substance abuse issue. You'll become healthy, they'll become broke, because most of their money, Chevis, all this stuff that we have identified with ourselves, we think we're cool, we're just being used by these companies to line their pockets. We bought into something that we are not. We think that that's cool. It's not. Drugs, and as well breaking any kind of laws, you've just taken yourself out of the clutches of the police to manhandle you, to do anything they want, a blank check, to do whatever they want to do to you because you're breaking the law. And part of that breaking the law is killing each other, the gangbang and all that stuff, man. That needs to end. Get healthy. Be a strong warrior. Be healthy. Stop eating the junk foods, man. Man, they're putting those junk foods out they know are killing you, but you know you're buying it anyway. Buy healthy foods. Exercise. You can't sit and be a warrior running around with one foot or half your toes missing. Come on now. Take these high blood pressure medicines for the rest of your life. Come on now. Get yourself healthy. Educated. Education is the key. Out of the mess. Educated. I started college when I was 50 years old at Sinclair College. My daughter was 3. 10 years later, I earned my MBA. She's 13. That's what she saw all of her life. She wants to be an attorney, as well a PhD. What I'm saying is, we do these things, we demonstrate these things before our children, and we will become like our ancestors, sacrificing ourselves for the lives of our children rather than being convinced to kill them before they're even born. Come on, man. This isn't political. This is the reality of black folks in America. We need to see this. We need to be well. Well, anyway, I know I've talked your ear off. We'll pick up on this next week. And I do want to thank you for listening. And I want to invite you to listen again. You take care. Bye.